Stand up for me.
Can I go through?
You need the restroom when we get to the jail.
I haven't pooped in 4 days. You think I won't do nothing stupid. Yeah, I'm gonna.
The two-day hunt for a suspected cop killer is over. On Friday morning, Stephen Joshua Wiggins was captured after a sharp-eyed state trooper spotted him on the edge of a wooded area.
As he approached this individual, he noticed that he had tattoos, and he met the overall description of the gentleman that we've been looking for.
Wiggins had been one of Tennessee's most wanted men since Wednesday, when Dixon County Sergeant Daniel Baker was found dead in his patrol car. Investigators identified Wiggins as the killer after viewing video on Baker's body camera.
I think he just simply ran off into the woods. He was able to hide for an extended period of time.
Sergeant Baker's death struck a nerve among Tennessee's law enforcement community. It also triggered a massive multi-agency response.
You kicked it under the seat. He would have never saw it. He would have never saw it, right? You kicked it under the seat, he wouldn't have seen it. Now, I'm not saying he wouldn't have found it eventually. There have been some consequences. But at some point during this, you decided to change the dynamics. The situation changed.
I heard what is going on and we still in there.
But he put it up, and the situation drastically declined because an officer that at one point felt strong enough to pull his gun on you and to give you some commands felt comfortable enough to tell you it's okay, calm down, it's okay, just can you crawl out the passenger side? And he put his gun up.
We've had issues before too.
So you did know it.
I don't know him by name. I recognize his face.
And so
He,
you knew at what point, back to my two questions, that you decided to shoot him.
when he opened the passenger door.
He didn't open the passenger door.
When the passenger door got opened,
He didn't open the passenger door. The passenger door never got opened. Didn't happen. Past that.
water coming around the passenger side of the car. I swear I still didn't have it in my hand.
He wasn't even facing you. He was looking across the street. So why? Because you had issues in the past and it was time to take care of it?
No, I mean, I wouldn't hold no grudge, no nothing like that. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I don't.
I don't either.
I don't say
It's decent. I didn't see him shooting whenever he pulled up.
Okay, I agree with that.
Big gun.
When he pulled up,
I didn't
but
see
he
him.
made a decision, a conscious decision in this interaction with him to shoot him, and that's what I'm asking. When did that happen?
I'm saying like he really tripped me out when he pulled his gun on me and was yelling at me. Yeah, like I remember saying he's gonna kill me, he's gonna kill me, he's gonna kill me.
So when he pulled his gun out, is that when you made the decision to kill him?
I didn't even decide to kill him. I was trying to decide I was going to get away from him.
One way or the other. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't even think about it then. I was thinking, I gotta get him home, he's gonna kill me. I don't know.
I'm gonna have a hard time believing that statement.
I mean, really.
Because here's what happens. Remember, I watched the video. I seen it. You shoot him. And a man that you're so scared of that you think you have to shoot, you hunt down the road a little ways, you shoot him more, and then once you get close to him, the man you're so afraid of that is still breathing life.
And he's not.
The video, I watched it, he's alive.
Well, if I walked up to him down there, he's not, he was wrong.
He was alive when you walked up to him. And a man you're so afraid of that's still alive that has a gun, he has a gun, and you're so afraid of him, you walk down the street to him. When you finish, you put him down. A man you're so afraid of that you think he's going to kill me. A man you're so afraid of that de-escalated the situation and asked a man who's so afraid of him if you're okay. So you weren't afraid out. Oh, I'm not saying you wasn't freaked out. I think you were freaked out because of a decision you made.
I had made it. I honest God, I had made a decision until he hit the passenger door. I don't
So
know.
when he got to the passenger door, that's when you decided.
I hadn't even thought about my gun until when he hit the passenger door.
Well, I got the answer to the question of when did you decide to shoot him?
When he moved up on the passenger door,
I got that
he
answer.
was going to shoot me
What's the why?
because I thought he was going to shoot me. Because when he pulled his pistol and yelled at me from the other side, he had me scared. I'm not gonna lie. I
So
was
scared that you hunted him down? So scared that a man who is still breathing life, that you decided to put the gun in your hand
I swear he was dead.
and execute him.
He was dead. I swear to God.
He wasn't dead.
I thought he was. I swear to God, I thought he was. When I walked up there and told him he didn't look like he was breathing and all of the I really did that so he would be suffering.
Say that again, I didn't hear.
And I really the only reason why I didn't, that was
Did what?
shot him those last 6 hours just because I wanted to make sure he wasn't suffering. But I swore to God he was dead.
And he's going to suffer if he's what? Only he's going to suffer if he's what?
If he's alive, but like I said,
And you wanted to make sure he was what?
he wasn't breathing and he wasn't moving and he wasn't responsive to anything. I mean, he was dead.
What was he supposed to respond to?
I mean, he wasn't
Being shot? He did. He screamed. Erica didn't. He screamed.
She tried.
You didn't.
She tried. She shot straight out. She
You didn't. A man you're so afraid of that you shot, you didn't shock out.
In fact, you were pretty calm.
It's not, I didn't have it planned this way.
So your why answer is because you thought he was going to kill you. And you were deathly afraid of him? Is that right? Stephen?
I was scared he was coming. I swear.
De-escalated the situation. I tried to calm you down.
I don't. I don't know you
What do you think should happen to somebody that done that to Sergeant Daniel Scott Baker? What do you think should happen?
I think I should be put down like a 30 dog. Because I've never been hurt. I don't know why I done it. It's like I couldn't. I don't know, man. I never even thought about shooting him. I swear. It's.
You get the opportunity to sit in this room and talk to us.
I don't know where it even come from.
Well, you got clarity pretty quick.
It just.
Your mind cleared pretty quick because you went into survival mode of self-preservation. Load him up, hide him, burn him, to get rid of your fingerprints.
It's like I couldn't make myself stop. I don't know. It just don't know.
No, you didn't. You didn't tell yourself no. You got on the radio and told people, I'm good.
No one in custody.
No, you stay at the car. That's right. You did make a phone call, didn't you? Or got a phone call, didn't you? Yeah, you did. You answered his phone, didn't you? Can remember.
Steve.
And then you get down there at the car and you got to get rid of what can locate that car. So you start trying to get GPS. And Stephen Wiggins is clear as a bell.
I swear I really don't remember talking on the phone.
Well, you talked on the radio, didn't you?
I remember talking on the radio.
But
I swear I don't remember talking on the phone. I don't. And I'm trying to think of what is. I am diagnosed schizophrenic. Swear to God, you need records. I am diagnosed schizophrenic. Because it does. I really don't remember talking on the phone.
I'm a Scorpio, and I don't know that in the situation that you were in, that I could have been as clear as you were doing what you were doing. It took you about a split second to make a decision to run up to get his car and load him up and get him out of there. You had the courage to get on the radio and play like you were him. All right.
And it's
Got any questions for me?
What am I being charged with?
Number one, first degree murder. You're gonna be looked in at the Dixon County Jail.
I really had to plan on going. I just. I don't know, it just all once
Take
happened.
your drink, Gary.
I don't traveling and stuff. I'm all fucked up. I'm taking responsibility for what I did.
We'll take these back off if you have to go to the restroom. That doesn't.
Right now, we got to put it back on.
Oh. Thank you. Can they go in front? I'm hurting so bad.
Sorry.
I won't fight you.
You cooperative with me so far, for the most part. Just do.
While we're waiting on the last one or two folks to arrive, let me again reiterate one thing, and that is these folks that have been chosen to come here on the jury are serving us, even though this is not their home county, and therefore they deserve our respect, and that means that we need to respect their decision, whatever it may be. So if there's anyone here, I know this is an emotional case. I certainly understand anyone having the type of emotional reaction they might to a verdict. But if you cannot control yourself to prevent an outburst, then you need to leave now and watch this verdict from the downstairs jury assembly room, where it will be live streamed and you can watch it in real time. Otherwise, it's certainly welcome to be here and to observe what the jury does, but I would appreciate it if, depending on what they do, we may have another stage to go, and we don't want to do anything that's going to create problems for us and going beyond that. So I thank you for your cooperation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's my understanding that you have reached a verdict on all 10 counts. Is that correct? Is the foreman or forelady here among us? Could you please indicate who you are? Mr. McGuire, if you will hand your verdict form to the bailiff and let me examine it before, and then I'll have you read the verdict of the jury. I'll pass this back to the juror. And our foreman. I'm going to go through them with you individually. If you will refer, if you would just stand and announce the verdict that you have received, you will not be shown on camera. So, all right. As to count 1 of the indictment, the charge of false report, can you tell me how does the jury find?
Guilty, Your Honor.
As to count 2, premeditated first-degree murder, how does the jury find?
Guilty, Your Honor.
As to felony murder, first-degree murder, felony murder on count 3, how does the jury find?
Guilty, Your Honor.
As to count 4, theft of property, how does the jury find?
Guilty, Your Honor.
As to count 5, theft of property, how does the jury find?
Guilty, Your Honor.
As to count 6, criminal impersonation, how does the jury find?
Guilty, Your Honor.
And as to count 7, criminal impersonation, how does the jury find?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Count 8, tampering with evidence, how does the jury find?
Guilty, Your Honor.
And count 9, arson, how does the jury find?
Guilty, Your Honor.
And count 10, abuse of a corpse, how does the jury find?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, is this the unanimous verdict of all 12 of you who decided this case? May you affirm by raising your hand. Let the record reflect all 12 jurors have affirmed the verdict. And the next phase that we'll be moving to will be what we call the punishment phase. We talked about it during jury selection so that you understand what your 3 choices of punishments are going to be. Those are going to be life with the possibility of parole after serving 51 years. Life, this is as to the 2 counts 2 and 3 that we're considering here. Those are the only 2 that you will be asked to impose a sentence. The other is life in prison with no possibility of parole, and the third is the imposition of the death penalty. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm told that the jury has reached a verdict, and before we bring them in, there are additional charges beyond counts 2 and 3, which the jury is assessing the punishment for, that will need to be addressed in a sentencing hearing, and we have proposed a day, I think, of the 29th of September to try to have that sentencing hearing. And Mr. Foreman, do I understand that the jury has reached the verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you would please pass your verdict form to the bailiff and let me examine it before we begin announcing it. All right. Mr. Foreman, if you would cooperate, may I hand you back your verdict form and allow you to read this for the record. As to count 2 of the indictment, how does the jury find? Let me just tell you what, it might be simpler to do it this way. Do you find for life in prison, life without parole, or punishment by death?
Punishment by death.
And as to count 3, how does the jury find as well?
Punishment by death.
Have you noted on the form the findings of the aggravating factors that you have found beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are they written in on the form itself?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And would you read those factors that you find have been established beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant was previously convicted of 1 or more felonies other than the present charge, the statutory elements of which involve the use of violence to a person. Number 2, the murder was especially heinous, atrocious, and cruel. Number 3, the murder was committed for the purpose of avoiding interfering with or preventing a lawful arrest or prosecution. Number 4, the murder was committed against a law enforcement officer who was engaged in performance of official duties, and the defendant knew or reasonably should have known that such victim was a law enforcement officer engaged in the performance of official duties. And number 5, the defendant knowingly mutilated the body of the victim after death.
And does the jury signify that they have found beyond a reasonable doubt that those factors outweigh, those aggravating factors outweigh the mitigating factors?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have all of the jurors signed that form indicating that they unanimously found that to be the case?
Yes, Your Honor.
And as to count 3 of the indictment, without reading the same language, are those the same aggravating factors found for that count?
Exactly the same, Your Honor.
And have all of the jurors signified their unanimous verdict by signing that form?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You may pass that back. If you will please stand. First, I'd like to announce that I do concur in both the verdict of first-degree murder and the sentence that has been rendered by the jury. And upon the verdict of the jury finding you, Stephen Joshua Wiggins, to be guilty of murder in the first degree as charged in the indictment, and upon further the verdict of the jury fixing the punishment as death, it is therefore ordered that you shall be put to death by lethal injection in the mode prescribed by law pursuant to the provisions of Tennessee Code Annotated 4023-114. You shall be transferred to the custody of the warden at the State Penitentiary in Nashville pending appellate review. This is the 12th day of August 2021. The defendant may be escorted from the courtroom. For the record, both count 3 and count 2 were so amended and by the signatures and asterisk and the initials of all of the jurors.